Here we go. Best way to plan my travel. I often forget that Google Flights exists. I think because when I first heard about Google Flights, it might have been like 10 years ago. It might have been longer because I lived in San Francisco about 15 years ago. And it might have been around that time or shortly after that time. And it was that thing of saying, it's all right, but I got Travelocity. I'm not a big fan, but it works. Travelocity, I got a kayak, whatever, whatever. I'm not big on going and booking through the aggregates. They call them aggregates. And so essentially it's like gathering all the stuff and putting it into one place. I'm not big on the aggregates because I've had issues, particularly early on. Like I've been traveling again for a long time, and I'm used to booking through a travel agent or going through the airline directly. And then when the aggregates came, because I was traveling before the aggregates came about 20 years ago, when the aggregates came, I started using some of them. And then I wanted to change a flight, or flights would get canceled or they would get changed. And then the aggregate wouldn't tell me. Like it was just that it's almost like the degree of communication. And it's like you got a couple of degrees in there, and it's like it starts to get foggy. My whole point is that with Google Flights, I kind of shun them because I'm like, I don't want another aggregate. And particularly at the time, Google was like hella monopoly. They've calmed down a little bit now. Shout out to YouTube. But they've calmed down a little bit now. But at that time, think about 10, 15 years ago, Google was everything, right? I was like, I don't want to do another thing with Google. Then probably I would say about a year ago, I was planning a family trip. I'm really the traveler, so I'm the family travel planner. And I was trying to crunch the numbers because you're traveling with four people because I have two little kids. It gets expensive. Like they don't charge like baby prices for your babies. Like they charge like grown prices. And I'm doing this, and I was, to be honest, I was struggling. I was like, I don't think I can financially make this work. Like this doesn't, probably because of that big wave when the pandemic settled down a little bit and everybody started traveling. It was during that period of time or shortly after that. And it was still a bubble when it comes to travel. And someone was like, all right, what did Google Flights say? And I was like, Google what? Google Flights. And I'm like, well, I heard of it. And I went over there. I was like, oh, and it changed a lot of things. What I'm going to do is hop on. Actually, we're going to hop on because you're coming with me. And we're going to see what's happening. So there we go. Yay, technology. I'm still relatively new to sharing my screen. So we'll see what's going on. All right. Hopefully you guys can see it. If you can't, jump in the comments. All right. So it looks like the normal aggregate. I'm in Las Vegas, as I mentioned. Las Vegas to New York, 138. That's pretty good, but it's on Spirit. Please don't travel Spirit. All right. Soapbox off. Okay, so that sounds cool, right? Usual aggregate, whatever. It focuses on flights, but also I think it does trains, a couple other things. Obviously, it does hotels. You can see it there. The Explorer one, though, this is where it gets fun. All right, there's so many details here, but I'm gonna keep it really high level. The first thing is that obviously you can go ahead and have your destination. It knows I'm in Las Vegas. Thank you, Google, et cetera, et cetera. Then it says 1 week trip in the next 6 months. You can break it down. Let's say you're traveling during the holiday season here in America, which is usually from basically the last week of December, right? Christmas usually marks the beginning of that, but shout out to Kwanzaa, as well as to my folks that are celebrating Hanukkah and all the other holidays during that period of time. All right, so let's say 1 week trip in December. Here's what I love about this. They set it up by price here, and everything's nice and organized. I have relatives in a lot of these places, so I'm like, oh, I can go see my cousins. That's fantastic, right? I don't know why I would fly to Joshua Tree because it's only a few hours away, but I digress. All right. So you have these different things, but you have the filters, and the filters are where the real power is. So you have flights. You can also set it up by your interest: museums, beaches, skiing, history, prices, and then the airlines. Now, if you're a hardcore traveler like I am when it comes to frequent flyer miles and so forth, actually, I used to be hardcore, not as hardcore as I used to be. Like, you can ask my family. I used to be really hardcore. I was that guy. Again, shout out to Brian, the points guy. I mention him a lot because I actually got invited to their first party. Those of you that are watching who hung on me at the time, some of y'all came to that party back in New York on the Intrepid. So that's how hardcore I was with my flights. If you're interested in getting your flight points up, like your frequent flyer miles, or there's different terms for them now. Trust me, there's like 3 or 4 different terms for frequent flyer miles. Whatever your wave is, most of them come down to 3: Star Alliance, Sky Team, and One World. I want to say, like I said, I'm out of the loop. I want to say Star Alliance is United. I want to say Sky Team is Delta, and I just want to say One World is the last one, which American? It might be American. Don't quote me on that, but it breaks down into those 3 major airlines. What you can do is click on one, and then it'll just show you those airlines that are not only with Star, not only with that main one, let's say United in this case, but it also will show all the partners and affiliates. So my family and I went to Europe over the past year. We do a lot of flying with Delta. So we're able to fly with a partner of Delta. And so we got Delta points, all of us, even though we once got Delta points, even though Delta wasn't flying to where we were going in Europe. It's a different type of wave. So it's a fantastic place to kind of play around with things. You can also book flights here. But again, I'm pretty conservative when it comes to the aggregates, just because I don't like the extra degrees of communication to come into that. Because again, I've been burnt once or twice, and you don't want to get into that situation, or at least I don't. So you don't have to book there, but at least you have the insight to check out what's going on. Excuse me. Another recommendation is, oh, actually, let me go ahead and hook you guys up. I think I missed a link here. And so the next recommendation is, again, I need that Jeopardy music. It's Hopper app. I like Hopper app a lot. Let me go ahead and present Hopper to y'all. It's a little bit limited as far as what I can show y'all in there, just because it's actually an app. And so Hopper is a free app. At least the basic service is free. And they must know I'm in Vegas. They're killing me at the Vegas. I'm like, I live here. Why do I need to fly to Vegas? It's an app. I know it's available on iPhone. I believe it's also available on Android, but I'm an iPhone user. So correct me in the comments if I'm off on that one. It works like this. You say, last week of December, I want to travel to Acapulco. Shout out to Mexico. I want to travel to Acapulco for 3 days, starting on, say, December 29th. And then I want to leave, on New Year's Day. You can put it into the app. And I think they show the app on here. Yeah, they changed the website a little bit. So my apologies. There we go. That gives you a mini version of that. So you go and you put it in, get it all set up. And then you set the parameters. I want it to be this price range or up to this price. You don't do a minimum price because, of course, if you can get it cheaper, you will. But a maximum price, what the desired carriers are, right back to if you want to do Delta, United, or American, et cetera, how many passengers, things of that nature. If you're okay with red eyes, if you want to have nonstop, or how many stops you're willing to have, things of that nature. Like, it totally breaks down. And it's fantastic as far as you breaking down what it means to sit there, chill out, and then actually have this app waiting for you and working for you. Because then you can be sitting there, if you have notifications on, which I recommend, you could be sitting there and say, and doing something else like playing with your kids, whatever. And then it gets a buzz, and it's like, hey, Delta has this flight now available, well within your price range, book it now. Or it'll give you feedback and say, you know what? You want to book this right now. This is when you first put the information in. You want to book this right now, but don't book it right now. In fact, the hottest time to book it is in about 2 weeks. In about 2 weeks, in fact, sometimes it says the days, like 13 days, we're going to hook you up. So go ahead, put aside your credit card, your debit card, whatever you're going to do. But in 13 days, this price is going to drop. We're guessing about 60, 70% or $5, whatever the case may be. It is a powerful tool. They've upgraded it a lot, but this tool is old school for me because I used to use this tool a lot. I want to say 5, 6 years ago. It's been around for a while. and they've added so many different things to it. There's one cool thing that they have that I have not tried yet, and is called price prediction. I talked about that, but the price freeze. And what it does is you give them, it's almost like a reservation. And airlines used to do this. American might still do this. The other airlines don't do that. I'm not crazy about American Airlines, but there's one thing I do love about their platform. Same thing with Hopper. What it will do is say, oh, okay, you got a flight coming to, I'm from Jersey. So you got a flight from going to Philly for $200, which is fairly cheap coming from the West Coast over here in Vegas. It's like, bet. You go ahead and do that. And they're like, great, come through. You can go ahead and lock this down. Pay us, let's say $5, because I don't know what the prices are at this point. $5, here you go. And then they're like, great. You can hold on to this price for next week, next 2 weeks. If you're bringing a bunch of family, maybe get money from them and get it organized. If your money's tight or you're not sure, or you're still thinking about it, you have that leeway is what I'm trying to say. Trying to find the right word. So I'm struggling a little bit. That leeway. So basically you can go ahead and say, this flight to Philly is $200. Bet. I'm not ready to buy it yet, but I'll be ready to buy it in a little bit. Let me go ahead and lock that down because the price is only going to go up from here. If you add that with their price prediction, which is based on statistics and all these fantastic things that are actually pretty darn accurate, I'm amazed. And this was like a handful of years ago where this was my app. So I'm sure it's gotten even better. I think there might be some AI components now too. If you use a price prediction, you could say, let me go ahead and lock this down just in case. Here's my $5, Hopper. And then if the price drops, if it drops more than $5, then it's a win for me. If it doesn't drop, then at least me and my family can still travel to Philly. That allows you to get more strategic. And that's what I always recommend to folks that ask me about travel, where it's not a matter of having a bunch of money. I've never had a ton of money where I'm just gonna I'm like, oh, I'll just buy whatever. Like I was never in that position. Even as I get older, obviously I got a house, I got a wife, I got kids, I got stuff I got to do. Businesses I'm building. I'm trying to support y'all. So even as you get older, even if you might have more resources coming in, and I have more resources than ever I've had in my life, there's still a lot more outgoing. So it's never going to be a period of time where it's just like, at least for me, I can't speak for y'all. There's never going to be a period of time where I'm going to be like, oh, F it. Let me just buy this ticket. I don't care what the price is. Even if I became a billionaire tomorrow, that's not the way that I operate. And that's allowed me to build these businesses and connect with y'all and frankly have a level of freedom that I wouldn't have if I was going willy-nilly on the travel and paying any price. So many people, it makes me sad because so many people wait and say, wait until I get my money right, wait until this, that, and the third to travel. And if you're strategic about it, you can travel when you have very low resources, whether those resources are time or money. And me going to Iceland, my wife and I going to Morocco, me going to Japan a couple of times, taking my family to Italy, all those different things. If I waited for the quote unquote perfect time, we wouldn't have any of those memories. That makes me extremely sad. I don't want you to be in that position. So if you're one of those people where you're like, oh, I'll wait until things are perfect, there probably is never going to be a perfect moment. And that's okay if you make peace with that and use some of the tools I'm talking about here to be more strategic as far as how you show up, which I think is really important. Give a shout in the comments if you hear what I'm saying. Speaking of strategy, another recommendation, and I gave a hint to that earlier, the Delta Gold Card. If you're dealing with credit card stuff, if you're barely, whatever, if you're just trying to get through the day, which I can relate to, trust me, no judgment from me, then do not get this card. But if you know you're going to spend X amount of dollars on traveling, if you're bringing your family with you, if you're having relatives come in and you're hooking them up and you're paying for the flight, shout out to folks that are bringing their parents or grandparents in to come in and spend time with them as a family. This is a smart choice. The Gold Card is the first card. I think the annual fee is, I think it's less than $100, maybe $75 as of this recording. So again, as of October 2023, it works well for a few different reasons. Number one, it allows you to get into the cabin earlier. I think it's called Main 1 as of this recording, but as I always say, they keep changing it. Number two, it gives you free bags. Again, every time I travel, I'm traveling with 4 people and I'm a minimalist. What you see in my office. Like, this is pretty much my office. Like, there's not a whole lot of stuff aside from the winter coat I threw over there. That and a handful of books from the episode I did a couple of weeks ago. Shout out if you know what episode I'm talking about. With all those with all those people that are flying at the same time, even though I might be a minimalist, they are not. And so it might be 3-4 bags that we're doing, and we're not doing carry-ons anymore. Unfortunately, because of the airline situation, and they're not doing carry-ons. We don't have that space. This allows you to have, I want to say, 2 checked bags per person. As of this recording, every airline is charging at least $50 for a checked bag. I will repeat. As of this recording, every single airline, aside from Southwest, shout out to them, is charging $50 or more to pack it to check in a bag. Some of y'all, shout out to Spirit again, are actually charging people for carry-ons. I'm going to carry my own bag and also get charged on it. It's amazing. It's like getting charged twice at the checkout line when you're doing the self-checkout. I digress. My whole point is that this card makes all of them free. So my wife and my 2 kids, we've gone overseas. We didn't have 4 pieces of luggage, thank God. But we could have done 2 pieces of luggage per person. And if you go overseas, I think it's usually more expensive. But again, you can correct me in the comments. Without this card, if it's 2 checked bags per person, and there's 4 of us, because I have 4 people in my family, that's $400. That pays for the annual fee and then some. And then when it's little old me, going to the TED conference, or shout to ASJA, going to the American Society of Journalists and Authors conference, or coming to visit y'all doing a keynote or whatever, and it's just little old me, I'm still getting a fine because I'm doing my checked bag. That's supposed to be $50. And the annual fee is, I want to say, between $50 and $100. I do, and you get charged for each leg of the trip for that. So when I saw y'all over in Benton Harbor, shout out to Lake Michigan University. When I had my keynote there last year, I'm flying all the way to Detroit. That's $50, and I'm flying all the way back because I got to get home. That's $50. So just that one trip, little old me, that's extra $100. That would be out of my fee for doing the keynote. That's covered by this card. It doesn't have to be the Delta card. Let me be clear. It does not have to be the Delta card. It doesn't have to be this one. This is actually a referral link, so you'll get bonuses, and so will I. You do not need to use this link. You don't need to use this link. You don't need to get this card. What you do need to do, though, is be strategic as far as how you spend your money and how you strategize, double strategy there, how you strategize how you're going to get to where you're going to go. The nice thing, too, at least with the Delta card and most airline cards, is that you get bonus points, frequent flyer miles based on purchases, as well as, of course, when you buy tickets with this particular airline. I want to say with Delta, I want to say it's 2 to 3 times the amount of points. And so when, again, my family's going overseas, I'm getting the tickets, whatever the case may be, or I'm traveling myself, again, going to Vancouver for the TED conference or whatever, when I'm doing those things, it's just, those points add up quickly. And suddenly that next trip to Vancouver, the next trip to Philly to see my family or whatever, it's taken care of. It's like, wow, okay, that was quick. Again, when you got 4 folks, you got to think more strategically than that. If you're flying solo, quite literally, and you don't have a whole lot of resources, you got to be strategic about what you're doing. Same thing with this card. I'm old school Marriott. This card used to be Starward. Something with weird accents coming out. I think it's the hat. Starward. I cannot say it. Let's call it SPG. SPG. If y'all were travelers, say 10 years ago, you're probably familiar with SPG. Great line of hotels. I had a card with them. I loved their stuff. They got acquired by Marriott. I don't like Marriott as much, but I like them way more than the other chains. No shots to anybody else. At least as far as the major chains. The little chains, I could talk about them all day. Joe Levy and all those other stuff. We can talk about that. The Burrard. Cannot talk today. The Burrard up in Vancouver. Shout out to y'all. Like, there's fantastic boutique hotels. Some of them in Seattle and all that. But if you're going to do the major hotels, there's some advantage to that. getting a card with the hotel or the airline that you rock with, if you know you're going to be traveling overseas, if you know you're going towards getting points so that you can stay at a hotel for free, you might as well just get the card that's related to it. Number one, there's all these benefits if you end up using the card outside of that hotel purchase, right? As far as getting the room for the hotel. And some of these, I believe there's a case with Bonvoy as well, which again, I've had for a while. You get bonuses with restaurants, which you're traveling, you're probably going to be eating at restaurants. You get bonuses with, I think, shopping, as far as like food shopping. Again, I got 2 little boys, so we're always food shopping, things of that nature. That's cool. All those points go into getting a free hotel room or whatever. The other benefit is the same thing I was talking about with Delta and any other airline, is that you will start to get these benefits that are unique to this particular platform. And if you know you're going to be staying in a hotel, let's say in Paris, stick with the theme. If you know you're going to be staying in a hotel in Paris and you're not necessarily committed to staying at a local hotel or a B&B, not Airbnb, but a real B&B, a real bed and breakfast or whatever, or maybe you're going to a place where you don't know the language, you're not as comfortable. There's great options that are within these massive chains, from Marriott to Hyatt to, I think Radisson is part of the Marriott now too. But you know what I'm getting at, La Quinta, if you want to get really old school. Days Inn. I remember we did my wife and I did a trip overseas, and I was post grad school, and she was also finishing up school too, and we both didn't have a whole lot of money. And I remember getting us a key place, key location, very popular city, and it was at a Days Inn. And I got the joint had to be like $100 a night. And we also traveled with her friends, and they're like, "How did you do this?" And I was like, "It's freaking Days Inn." They have Days Inns in Europe. Who knew? I figured that out, and because I followed that path, I was able to help give us a great experience. My whole point is that if you're in a good financial position, and or you know that you're going towards a particular trip, you know you're going to be spending the money anyway, get a card that matches whatever you want to do. Again, these are referral links. You get a bonus, as I get a bonus for the show, which I appreciate. But you don't have to use this link. You don't have to get the cards at all. Totally up to you. What I implore you to do, though, is that if it's Delta, American, United, I used to rock with Alaska when I was more deeper into the West Coast, all those other things. Whoever you're rocking with, find some way to get more for your money. Marriott, Hyatt, La Quinta, whatever, Days Inn. Find a way to be strategic with the money that you spend. If you know you're going to spend the money anyway, figure out a wise way to do it.